There's no denying that the Pope is in one of the most important positions, not just in the Catholic Church, but in the world. For a while now, people have been buzzing about when he might step down and who could take his place. Pope Francis has always said that the papacy is a lifelong gig, but a resignation has never been completely off the table. Just when everyone thought they had it all figured out, a surprising twist came along that left us all reeling. This time, it's not just about whether he'll resign, it's about who's going to carry on his legacy. So, who's next in line after Pope Francis? And what does this mean for the Church? Stick around as we dive into what's been going on with the Pope. So, what's the latest on Pope Francis? Some breaking news just dropped that has everyone talking. The Pope has hinted that he might be considering retirement, which could signal the end of his time in office. He was elected as the 266th Pope of the Catholic Church on March 13, 2013, and has been doing his job for nearly 12 years now. But he's also acknowledged that nobody can hold this position forever. At 88 years old, there have been growing concerns about his health, with whispers about his physical condition and whether he can keep up with the demands of the role at his age. Many are wondering when he might choose to step back and what that would mean for the Church. Now, Pope Francis is finally speaking up about it. His comments regarding retirement have caught everyone off guard. The 85-year-old Pope has mentioned that he hadn't really thought about resigning until now. He said that some situations might make him consider stepping down, even though he's brushed off rumors about resigning anytime soon. He's been pretty open about the challenges he faces as Pope. One major factor that could push him to resign is his health, which has been a hot topic throughout his leadership of the Catholic Church. Health issues are a big reason why Pope Francis might think about stepping down. His physical condition has come up a lot, especially when he's struggled or needed medical attention. Back in 2021, rumors about his resignation started swirling because people were worried about his health, even though he quickly shot those down. It became pretty clear that many were anxious about how long he could keep up with such a demanding role. In June 2022, Pope Francis had to cancel 2 important trips to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and South Sudan because his doctors told him to prioritize his health. That was a rare moment when he had to put his well-being ahead of his duties, highlighting how his physical condition could affect what he does. Then there was a serious scare in March 2023 when he ended up in the hospital with a lung infection. Just days before Holy Week, Catholics all over the world are sending up prayers for him. The Vatican announced that the 86-year-old Pope was in the hospital after complaining about breathing issues. Thankfully, he bounced back quickly and got back to leading public Mass. Even though he's still working hard, unexpected health hiccups like this could really throw a wrench in the busy schedule of a pope. In June 2023, he had surgery for a hernia, which kept him in the hospital for several days and brought attention back to the pressures of his role. So, while we know about some of Pope Francis's health issues, there are still some things he's kept under wraps. Stay tuned for more details. Since 2022, he's been using a wheelchair because of knee pain, and he's talked about how this has slowed him down, calling it a new, slower phase in his papacy. He's managing this change, but it does make you wonder if he'll hit some physical limits in the future. Recently, in December 2024, he showed up with a bruise on his chin after taking a fall. Then, just a month later in January 2025, he fell again and hurt his arm, so he had to wear a sling. Luckily, neither of these incidents was too serious, but they do highlight the physical risks he faces as he gets older. Despite all this, Pope Francis has said he doesn't feel like he should resign just yet. This morning, we're hearing some shocking new stuff about his health. In a recent interview, He mentioned that he's actually written a resignation letter in case his health takes a turn for the worse and he can't do his job anymore. He reassured Catholics that he feels fine to continue his work, but he's also prepared for the possibility of stepping down if his health ever gets really bad. This shows he's ready to put the Church first if he feels he can't lead effectively. In his book, Hope, Pope Francis shares that he's not too worried about his health and feels capable of carrying on. He comforts those who look up to him by being honest about his situation, while also acknowledging that stepping down might be necessary one day. Having a resignation letter ready shows how seriously he takes his responsibility to the Church. Throughout his time as Pope, he's faced a lot of health challenges, but has still dedicated himself to his duties. His openness about possibly resigning sets a great example of humility and realism. He often says that a pope needs to be able to lead effectively, and if he can't do that anymore, it might be better to step down. This really reflects his humble view of the role. He sees it not as a position of power, but as a duty to serve billions of Catholics worldwide. There's been some buzz lately from the Vatican about whether Pope Francis might step down soon, especially if anything gets in the way of him doing his job. But he's made it clear that resigning isn't on his agenda for now. He's actually spoken out against popes resigning too often, saying it should only be a rare thing because it might weaken the image of the papacy. If he did resign, he mentioned he'd like to be called the Bishop Emeritus of Rome, highlighting his role as a pastor rather than a figure of authority. And it's not just health reasons that have people talking about his possible resignation. There's also some internal church drama going on. Pope Francis has faced opposition, especially since 2018 when Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano accused him of covering up abuse allegations against Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. Vigano even called for the Pope to resign, claiming he didn't act decisively enough against abusers. So, Pope Francis hasn't really responded to the accusations flying around. But it's clear that the whole situation has shown just how divided the Church really is. It's tough for him to handle these challenges while trying to keep everyone on the same page. Plus, there's been a lot of talk about his health and whether he might be thinking about retiring. Things got even messier with Vigano facing a Vatican trial for causing division in the Church. Internal conflicts can really blow up and create more headaches for the Pope. Dealing with public disputes, especially with high-ranking clergy, just adds to the pressure. These problems not only hurt the Church's reputation, but also make it harder for Pope Francis to focus on his goals of reform and renewal. Conservative groups, especially in the U.S., have been pretty critical of him too. They often clash with his progressive views on stuff like climate change, interfaith dialogue, and including the LGBT+ community. Many of them have been vocal about their dislike for his leadership and policies, with some even calling for him to step down. This strong opposition shows just how deep the ideological rifts are within the Church, making it tough for Pope Francis to unite such a diverse global community. Financial reforms have been another big challenge since he took the reins of the Catholic Church back in 2013. He's been working hard to tackle corruption and financial mismanagement in the Vatican, but it hasn't been a walk in the park. Recently, he made headlines after an interview came out where he mentioned that he's already signed his resignation in case he faces any medical issues and handed it to one of the Vatican cardinals. Some church leaders aren't on board with the changes he's trying to make, and others have criticized him for not being transparent enough. This pushback just makes it tougher for him to reach his goals and adds even more pressure to his role. The calls from conservative groups for him to resign definitely add to his challenges, often stemming from disagreements over how he leads and the policies he promotes. While Pope Francis has always stressed the importance of unity, the constant criticism from certain factions has created a lot of strain. This kind of opposition can be draining for any leader and might make him think about stepping aside for someone else to take over. Despite all this, Pope Francis has really tried to bridge the gaps within the Church. He often talks about the need for dialogue and reconciliation, encouraging everyone to come together despite their differences. He believes that unity doesn't mean everyone has to agree on every little thing, but that the Church should work together to fulfill its mission. Still, the ongoing disagreements might make it hard to reach that goal. And that's not all. Pope Francis has been pretty firm about dealing with individuals involved in abuse or misconduct. He's removed bishops and cardinals accused of wrongdoing and pushed for policies to protect vulnerable people in the Church. While a lot of people have applauded these efforts, some groups within the Church think he's being too harsh, or that his actions are politically motivated. Balancing decisive action with the backlash he faces adds another layer of complexity to his leadership role. He's openly acknowledged all this as part of his push for transparency in the Church's inner workings. While a lot of people appreciated his honesty, others thought it hurt the Church's image. Reports say that since Pope Francis took over, the number of women in the Vatican has actually gone up from 19.2% to 23.4% in terms of positions held in the Holy See and Vatican City State. One of Pope Francis's main goals has been to fight corruption. He's brought in financial audits and tightened things up to make sure the Church's money is being used the right way. But not everyone is on board with these changes. Some Church officials who benefit from the old ways are pushing back. All this internal drama and resistance might make Pope Francis think about stepping down. Leading a global Church full of divisions and challenges isn't easy, especially when you're dealing with health issues and the reality of getting older. Resigning could open the door for someone with fresh energy and ideas to take the lead and help the Church move forward. Plus, it could give Pope Francis a chance to take a break after all his hard work. But that brings up a big question. If Pope Francis were to resign today, who would take over? Has he picked a successor, or will the College of Cardinals need to gather to choose the next leader of the Catholic Church? Many Christians are still wondering who might be the next pope. Pope Francis hasn't revealed who he thinks should succeed him yet, but he has mentioned the qualities he believes the next pope should have. This has led to a lot of speculation about which cardinals fit the bill. After all, the next pope will be chosen from among the cardinals, as is the tradition. There are quite a few cardinals working with Pope Francis right now, but who among them really embodies the qualities the Pope has talked about? And, more importantly, who's his favorite? The Pope's answer to that question has left many people surprised, and we're about to find out. We're counting down to the conclave, a secret voting process to elect the next Pope. And it's just hours away now. The world is watching to see which cardinal he seems to favor. Before we dive into that, let's take a closer look at the cardinals currently serving. Stick with us as we figure out who might be Pope Francis's chosen successor. Now, while it's not set in stone who will be the next pope after Pope Francis, many folks think Cardinal Tagle is a strong contender. His incredible journey in the Catholic Church and the qualities he's shown over the years really make him stand out. To understand why he's seen as a potential successor, we should look back at his early years and the steps that led him to where he is now. Cardinal Tagle's strong connection with the Church started in his childhood. Born in Manila, Philippines, in 1957, he grew up in a very religious Catholic family. His parents instilled in him the importance of faith, kindness, and helping others. From a young age, Tagle showed a lot of devotion to the Church, serving as an altar boy and getting involved in many church activities. These early experiences shaped his lifelong love for the Church and its mission. Tagle's journey into the priesthood was filled with hard work and study. He attended Ateneo de Manila University, where he studied philosophy and later joined the San Jose Seminary. His dedication was clear during this time, and he deepened his knowledge by earning a doctorate in sacred theology from the Catholic University of America, focusing on the Church's role in the modern world. This prepared him for the leadership roles he would take on later. Luis Tagle became a priest in 1982. Luis Antonio Tagle is pretty much the most famous cardinal on Facebook, and his homilies are super popular on YouTube too. He's the Archbishop of Manila and was born in 1957 in the same city. At 55, he's actually the second youngest in the College of Cardinals. He kicked off his career with a mix of teaching and pastoral work. As a parish priest, he really connected with his community and built strong relationships with the people he served. At the same time, he was teaching theology to future priests, sharing his insights and inspiring them. A big moment in Tagle's career came in 2001 when he was named Bishop of Amos. He really got involved with his community, often visiting people at home and making the church more welcoming for everyone. He led with humility and compassion, showing a real commitment to helping those in need. His leadership style was all about the values promoted by the Second Vatican Council, which pushed the Church to engage more with the world. Luis Tagle's reputation took off as he got involved in international church work. He represented the Catholic Church at global meetings, tackling important issues like poverty and social justice, and promoting dialogue between different religions. His knack for working with people from various cultures and his dedication to helping the poor earned him respect all over the world, helping to shape his image as a unifying leader. In 2012, Pope Benedict XVI appointed Luis Tagle as the Archbishop of Manila and later made him a cardinal. This was a major turning point in his career, putting him among the top leaders of the Catholic Church. As a cardinal, Tagle took on many important roles in the Vatican, helping the Church respond to modern challenges. His promotion to cardinal was seen as a big nod to his strong leadership and commitment to the Church's mission. Luis Antonio Tagle believes that these days, having faith isn't just about religion. He points out that people's growing lack of faith in humanity is changing society. Over the years, he's earned a ton of respect among clergy. People often describe him as humble, approachable, and deeply caring. His way of explaining church teachings in simple terms has made him a favorite among Catholics everywhere. He's also known for his focus on helping the poor and making the church more inclusive. So, will Luis Tagle be the next pope? Let's dive into that. His name comes up a lot when folks talk about who might take on the papacy next. With his impressive background and qualities that fit the needs of the modern Catholic Church, he's definitely a strong candidate. Tagle has held important positions, like being Archbishop of Manila, where he led a huge Catholic community in Asia. Plus, in 2019, Pope Francis appointed him to lead the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, one of the key offices in the Vatican. All these roles show he's got what it takes to manage large groups and handle the Church's responsibilities. You know, besides being a strong leader, Tagle really gets theology. He's got a doctorate in sacred theology from the Catholic University of America, where he looked at how theology can connect with today's world. His deep knowledge of Catholic teachings makes him a go-to guy for discussions on religious and ethical issues. He has a knack for breaking down complex theological concepts so that anyone can understand them, which is super important for someone who might be pope. This ability helps him relate to Catholics from all walks of life and make sure his message reaches a wide audience. Tagle is also all about reform, which fits right in with the direction Pope Francis has been taking the Church. He's been working hard to make the Church more modern and transparent. One area where he's really made a difference is in boosting financial transparency in the Vatican. He's also been focused on ensuring that the Church holds its clergy accountable for any wrongdoings, like abuse or corruption. Another thing that makes Cardinal Tagle a strong candidate is his global perspective. Being from the Philippines, this 62-year-old cardinal follows Cardinal Fernando Filoni, who was at the helm of the Vatican department for 8 years. Tagle understands what the Church needs in both rich and developing countries. He's engaged with Catholics in places like Asia, Africa, and Latin America, which are becoming increasingly important for the Church. Plus, he's worked on building bridges with people from different cultures and religions, showing his commitment to unity and peace. All this experience makes him well-equipped to lead a global institution that aims to meet the needs of people everywhere. Tagle's good relationships within the College of Cardinals could also help his chances of becoming Pope. He's well respected among his fellow cardinals for his smarts. And let's not forget his personality. Much like Pope Francis and Pope John Paul II, he's known for being warm and connecting with regular folks. He's often out there, chatting with people from all backgrounds, listening to their stories, and offering comfort. His approachable nature has made him a beloved figure among Catholics worldwide. This kind of connection with the faithful is crucial for any pope, and it's something Tagle shares with some of the more popular popes in the past. Given all the challenges the Church is facing today, Tagle's ability to tackle these issues makes him a solid candidate for the papacy. With everything considered, it's no wonder that many see Cardinal Luis Tagle as Pope Francis just made a big move by appointing Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle as the new head of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples. This really shows that the Pope has a lot of faith in Tagle to lead one of the Church's most important departments. Because of this, a lot of people think Pope Francis is setting Tagle up for even bigger things down the line. Another reason folks are buzzing about Tagle possibly being endorsed by the Pope is all the nice things Francis has said about him. The Pope has often praised Tagle in his speeches and writings, calling him humble, smart, and deeply spiritual. He's highlighted Tagle's work and his knack for connecting with people, which definitely makes him a respected figure in the Church. This kind of public acknowledgement hints that the Pope sees Tagle as not just a reliable partner, but also someone who shares his values and vision for leading the Church. Their teamwork on various reforms points to the idea that Pope Francis might even see Tagle as a potential successor. The Pope has been all about pushing for reforms, like making financial practices more transparent, tackling clerical abuse, and making the Church more inclusive. Cardinal Tagle has been right there with him, taking on leadership roles in initiatives focused on social justice, environmental care, and interfaith dialogue. For example, Tagle was a key player in the Synod on the Amazon, where both he and the Pope had similar views on how the Church should support indigenous communities and the environment. Plus, their shared passion for social justice and inclusivity is another reason many people think Tagle could be the next in line. Both of them really care about advocating for the poor, marginalized, and vulnerable in society. However, even with all this praise, Pope Francis hasn't officially named Tagle as his successor. Choosing a new pope is a pretty complicated process that involves the College of Cardinals. While the outgoing pope's preferences can have some influence, the final decision is made behind closed doors, in a secret conclave where the cardinals vote in private. Their main goal is to pick a leader who will guide the Church according to God's will. So, with all this buzz, do you think Pope Francis will step down anytime soon? Who do you think will take over when he does? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, check out the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.